Okay, for number 1, to solve a linear equation, we're going to start by subtracting 7 on both sides. That gives us 4x equals negative 22. We would then divide by 4. You don't have to use your calculator for this. If you do, you can leave this as a decimal. I believe the decimal is negative 5.5. Is that correct? So x is negative 5.5. You could also look at this and say, 22 and 4 both have a 2 in common. I could simplify this fraction to negative 11 over 2, and you could leave your answer as negative 11 over 2. If the directions don't specifically say how to leave your answer, then I'm going to leave it up to you. You can leave it as a fraction, you can change it to a decimal, whatever you want to do. Number 2, we would start by subtracting 8 on both sides. So we would have 2/9 x equals negative 5. There are 2 ways to do this. One way is to divide both sides by 2/9. And if you are very comfortable with your calculator, that might be the best way for you to do this. The other way is to remember that to get rid of a fraction in front of an x, you can multiply both sides by the reciprocal. On the left side, you now have 18 over 18, which is 1. So you have 1x. It eliminates the fraction. On the right side, negative 5 times 9 is negative 45. So our answer is negative 45 over 2. Or you could plug that into your calculator. Oh, what is 45 divided by 2? Negative 22.5. An equation is a statement in which 2 expressions are equal. They're connected with an equal sign. A linear equation is specifically like ax equals b or y equals mx plus b. It's plain ordinary x. So an x that doesn't have an exponent, the x needs to be on the top, not on the bottom. If it's just a normal equation with a normal x, it's a linear equation, which means if we graphed it, it would form a straight line. Number 3, what do we need to do first on number 3? Distribute. So take a moment, distribute, combine your like terms, see if you can remember how to solve that equation. Do keep in mind that the negative in front of that last set of parentheses will need to be distributed into that parentheses. After you distribute, you can start combining like terms. On the left side, we can't really combine anything. We just have 12x equals 20. On the right side, we can combine the negative 2x and the x. What is negative? Oh, is that a negative 2x? Yeah. It is not a negative 2x. It is a positive 2x. You got to make sure that I don't lose a negative 2 or add an extra negative in. So we have positive 2x and x, which would make that 3x. And then we have negative 16 minus 5. Negative 16 minus 5 would be negative 21. Subtract 3x on both sides. So 9x minus 20 equals negative 21. Add 20 to both sides. If you do multiple steps at one time while you're solving, that is totally fine. I know at this step right here, a lot of people subtract 3x and add 20 all at the same time just to show less work. Sometimes I feel like that makes my work look really messy, so I try not to do that, but if you do that, that's totally fine. Divide both sides by 9, and we end up with our answer, x equals negative 1/9. Okay, there is a small error in number 4, and I do apologize. This is a geometry problem, but it's not that bad of a geometry problem. So the 5x minus 4 is supposed to be in that lower right angle inside the triangle. 8x plus 8, that angle and this angle inside that we don't know the measure of, these two have to add up to 180. all three of the angles in the triangle also have to add up to 180. So 8x plus 8 is going to be equal to 5x minus 4 plus 4x. The exterior angle is always equal to the sum of the two interior angles. So if you want to kind of circle those and put a plus between them, the exterior angle is equal to the sum of the interior angles that it's not right next to, the two that it doesn't touch. Take a moment and solve that equation. See what you get for x. If you're watching the video, pause the video. Did you get x equals 12? Okay. Now, a lot of you have been trained. You set up an equation, you solve the equation, you get x equals 12, and then I'm done. Are we actually done with this problem? No. This problem says specifically, find the measure of the exterior angle. It does not say find the value of x. It says find the measure of the angle. So we now need to take this 12 and plug it back into x to figure out what that exterior angle is. So 8 times 12 plus 8. So your answer is 104 degrees. Find the measure of the exterior angle. That exterior angle has a measure of 104 degrees. If you look at this picture, that does look accurate. 90 degrees would be like that. So it's definitely more than 90. 104 would make sense in that particular problem. Okay, next up in the notes is equations with multiple fractions. Here's some step-by-step instructions if you need it. Distribute if you see a bunch of parentheses. Multiply each term by the least common denominator. We'll be talking about that step, and then solve. So let's look at this first example. First thing I'm going to do is put a 1 in front of the x right after the equal sign to make sure that I don't forget about that x in there. Now, we could subtract 1/3 x from both sides and then add 1/6 to both sides. But does using fractions like that, does that really thrill you? Probably not. So we are going to stomp out these fractions and make them completely go away. I want you to think about numbers that you could divide by these three denominators and have it work out evenly. So I always start with my biggest denominator, 6. I can do 6 divided by 6. I can do 6 divided by 3 and get a whole number. But if I try to do 6 divided by 4, am I going to get a whole number? No. So I need a number bigger than 6 that works well with 3 and 4. 12. So I can do 12 divided by 6 and get a whole number. I can do 12 divided by 4 and get a whole number. I can do 12 divided by 3 and get a whole number. So I am going to multiply everything in this equation by 12. If I take 1/3 x times 12, when you multiply a fraction by a whole number, you multiply the two numerators, 12 and 1, together, and then you divide by the denominator. So 12 times 1 is 12. 12 divided by 3 is 4. So this term becomes 4x. Next term, multiply by 12. 12 times 1 is 12. 12 divided by 4 is 3. So our next term is a positive 3. Okay, the next one's easy. Multiply by 12. I don't like that pen. Multiply by 12. 12 times 1x is 12x. And then finally, multiply negative 1/6 times 12. 12 times 1 is 12. 12 divided by 6 is 2. That term had a negative in front of it. So you multiply everything by 2, and it makes those fractions all cancel out. 4x plus 3 equals 12x minus 2. That's a slightly nicer equation to work with. So take a moment, finish solving that one. Okay, did that cut my recording off? I don't know if that cut my recording off or not, but my screen says it's still recording. Sorry about my screen dying. Subtract 4x on both sides. Then add 2 on both sides. You should get x equals 5/8. Did you? Awesome. Let's look at this other one. Okay, now, originally the directions said that we could distribute. But take a look at what we would have to distribute. Do you really want to distribute 3/4? Probably not. If it's only one set of parentheses, you can get rid of the fraction 3/4. The same way we got rid of the fraction in that warm-up problem, we need to multiply both sides by the reciprocal of the fraction. On the left side, we would have 12 over 12, which is 1. So we can eliminate that fraction. We now have 4/5 x minus 2 equals 11 times 4 is 44. 20 times 3 is 60. Remember that you just multiply straight across the top, straight across the bottom. Okay, at this point, if you wanted to simplify this down, we've got 4/5 x minus 2 equals 11/15. You could simplify it at that point, and that might make the rest of the problem easier. But maybe you don't think about that, or maybe you're just too lazy to take the time to simplify the fraction, because that never happens. We're never lazy when we do math, right? Never. So if you don't simplify it, think about 60. I can definitely do 60 divided by 60. Can I do 60 divided by 5? Yes. So if I multiplied everything by 60, yeah, I'm probably going to get some big numbers, but as long as we got a calculator in front of us, that's not a big deal. So 60 times 4, and I would want to use my calculator to help me with this probably. 60 times 4 is 240, and then take that divided by 5. So 60 times 4 is 240. 240 divided by 5 is 48. That term becomes 48x. 60 times 2 is 120. And then here's the great thing over here. See how it says times 60 and divide by 60? Those will cancel each other out, and you'll be left with 44. So yeah, those are big numbers, but still pretty manageable. If you did take the time to simplify the fraction first to get 11/15, you can still do the problem the same way. 15 divided by 15 works, 15 divided by 5 works, multiply everything by 15, you would get a simpler version of the equation to solve. I feel like once you get it past the fractions, you're good on the solving part, right? That part's good. Okay. Your assignment today is a worksheet, and I do not have this worksheet printed for you. I would like you to access it on your device. Once you get signed into your computer, I want you to go to a web browser, and I want you to type this link in and then bookmark it. So if you're using Chrome, bookmark it. If you're using Edge, I think I know how to bookmark it in Edge. The address is tinyurl.com/BSSD Gilmore. The G doesn't have to be capitalized. It just makes it easier to read when it's written out. And then A2 for Algebra 2. Yeah. And this is up on the wall of the classroom. It's written on the syllabus. I would get it in your computer, get it bookmarked. It will take you to an online Word document that looks like this. This is our calendar. And notice, if you look up here while your computer's getting there, it says Friday, August 23rd. That's today's date. Sorry if you're watching this video years from now. It's probably not Friday, August 23rd anymore, but this year it is. In 2019 it is. I will link the video that I'm recording right here next to where it says 1.3 linear functions. And then over under the assignments part, A1.3 worksheet, you click on that link. It will pop open a new window, and the PDF of the worksheet will be right there. If you wanted to download it so that you could like ink on it on your computer, you could, but just look at it on your screen, write it down on a piece of paper.